So welcome everybody. Welcome Lee Camp. I'll just talk to my audience real quickly, and then you can do the intro.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Welcome, Graham's audience.
Thank you, Big Texan. Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Support Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. You can do what Big Texan did. Go to the super chat icon. Hit the $sign. Oh, I'm in the small corner again. Oh, God. Oh, robots. Always fighting with me. Goddamn robots. But yeah, folks, we just started this. This is Government Secrets number 2. So listen to the first one. We're dropping it as an audio podcast and all that stuff. So let me get that screen fixed. Hit the like button. Do all those things. I got to shut my video down so you cannot see me.
So it's so much less fun without your beautiful face, Graham.
I know.
Can we donate to get Graham a system that can handle both videos at once? Can we all chip in for that?
Folks, hit the super chat icon so Lee can see my face. So I don't have this little computer. I'm using a Tandy computer. It's from a Radio Shack from 1993. So let me know if maybe that's my problem.
I bet you didn't know Speak and Spell actually made a personal PC that I'm using right now.
It has an Etch-a-Sketch attachment to it. That's why I got it, because I think it's super exciting. All right, citizens of Gotham, here we go. Take it away, Lee, whenever you're ready.
All right. Hello and welcome to Government Secrets, the new podcast starring Graham Elwood and Lee Camp. And I'd say we're covering much more important information than the mainstream media, and we're funnier than the mainstream media. So those are the things we got going for us. How you doing, Graham?
Well, we're intentionally funnier than the mainstream media because they do some stuff that is hilarious. True. Now, they're not intending it. It's like
the unintentional funny level of the mainstream media is like through the roof. I mean, if that were something that people rated shows on, then they would be, God, top notch. Yes.
It is the America's funniest home videos of journalism is what the corporate media like.
It truly is. It truly is. Well, some of my favorite are like when Brian Stelter on CNN pretends he is critiquing the media. Oh my God. I will fall on my knees laughing. He's this, for those who don't know Brian Stelter, he is this marshmallow nougat host of CNN's On Media show. And he sits there and says things like, but Fox News didn't reveal that, that this isn't true. And you're like, you're on CNN. Every story is like fabricated. Rachel Maddow just said there was a Russian under my bed, all right? And you're telling me that Fox News has done us wrong?
It's my funniest, the CNN ad that talks about why this is an apple. Why are we calling it an orange? Right? Like they're trying to, and I'm just like, you guys lie on a daily. Like you have been telling me that's a cucumber because you're going to tell me that you're going to cover it in oil and tell me it's a taffy apple. Like because ExxonMobil buys ad time with you. What are you talking about?
The more accurate commercial would have been, they show an apple. They say, this is a cucumber. Fox News tells you it's an orange. But here at CNN, we know it's a cucumber.
Yes, they're both lying to you in different ways.
Right.
And they want you to fight over it's an orange or a cucumber when that's what I feel like as like a truly progressive. And I even hesitate to use that term now because it's been co-opted by Liz Warren and people like that. Like I feel like I don't know. I'm more leaning towards calling myself I'm an anti-war, pro-labor, democratic socialist. I don't know what else, because if I put socialist in the title, I know the neoliberals won't come near me. They won't say it.
That's true. If you call yourself a Sandinista, I think you're right. I think they'll leave you alone.
Welcome to the Sandinista Comedy of Graham Elwood and Lee Camp, ladies and gentlemen. Because I'm like, And I feel like that's where we are. And you and I and Jimmy and Ron Placone and Steph Zamorano, and I mean, all of us have had conversations, on and off camera about especially in the comedy world, but even too with this journalism thing, I feel like we're called crazy people because we're like, no, that's an apple. Okay. And it's like, so you're in favor of you're supporting the cucumber lobby? No, I think.
Oh yeah. And by doing segments practically every day, trying to stop war and stop the bombing of innocent civilians, I'm like an evildoer.
Yes.
Like I'm some awful, horrible foreign agent who's trying to kill people by standing up for peace on a daily basis.
Yeah, I feel like being a lefty, whatever, Sandinista, whatever you want to call us, in America, I feel like I'm living in an alcoholic home where like both my parents, like one parent is an alcoholic and the other one is a nutbag that's enabling the alcoholic. And when you call that out, and I'm not reading from my own script at all. I didn't grow up in an alcoholic home. No Irish Americans had that in their home. That's not why I'm a comedian.
Graham, we would have believed you, except that you were multiple voices speaking to yourself at once, which kind of gave it away.
Shut up, Graham. They're gonna find us. You pussy. Is that's what I feel like? Like you have, and then when you call it out, you're yelled at. Like you call out the crimes of the Democratic Party, and you're a Trump supporter, and it's like, no, I don't like Trump. And when you call out the Trump crimes, you're a libtard snowflake, and it's like.
Well, I remember when Trump was, remember when he started running and no one thought he would win. And so he was like doing well, but everyone assumed he would, his tax returns would come out or whatever, and it would be over. And so the mainstream media they weren't really going at him. They were kind of just enjoying the ratings boosts. They were just covering him, almost fawning on him, on a daily basis. Because the ratings were so good and, isn't this great and everything. And I, on the other hand, because I don't believe in the two-party system, I wasn't like just going at the Republicans. I was going at both sides. But when I would speak of Donald Trump, I would call him the most horrible fucking things. We did segments where I grafted his head, graphically onto Hitler's body, and I called him Adolf Hitler or something like, And so I had all these things where I was just trashing him. And then when he won, all of a sudden, like shows like mine were the pro-Trump, people were calling us pro-Trump and defending Trump. And it's like, no, I was the one actually calling him things you wouldn't dare call him when he was running for office.
It was, I know. And it's so insane. And then even, the way both parties, it's crazy on both sides. Like, and again, this is not an excuse for me to try to shoehorn Epstein talk into our podcast, but
here's the thing. I will give you a warning, Graham. I actually put Epstein on the list because A, I feel like you might have some sort of seizure if we don't, and B, last week I said, okay, this podcast is not going to be all about Epstein, but literally the day after we taped, the world became all about Epstein again. And so I feel like we're going to have to give a little bit of a refresher on what's happened over the past week. But anyway, go ahead.
But my point is, like, it's like I get emails from these QAnon nut jobs who are like, they send me stuff and I'm like, QAnon is about 60 to 70% on the money. And then they say the craziest, Trump is here to rescue us from I'm like, and one of the QAnon videos that somebody sent me, like, you still think QAnon is bullshit? And it says, like, the New World Order wants to eliminate our military budget. What world are you in? Like, what wink ding dong Disney conspiracy is this? Like, all they want is more war. Everybody is more war. That's all they care about. And it's like...
my other favorite one that QAnon did was they love to say that the reason Trump wants to extradite Assange is to save him.
Yes.
I love that. It's like I need to stab you to get the demons out. I'm gonna save your life. Just let me stab you in the heart.
Well, we're going to get what they're going to do. They're going to get Assange and they're going to see if he floats, if he's a witch or not. And that will determine whether he is.
Yeah. So Trump, listen, Trump he's got it all figured out. He really does. He's got it all figured out. I mean, that's all you need to know about QAnon. It doesn't matter if they got this thing right here or this thing right there, or they happen to co-align with our beliefs on one area or whatever. All you need to know is they think Trump has it all figured out.
Yeah.
That's it. End of story.
It's so funny because they're like, well, the Clintons, visited Epstein's compound in New Mexico, and Hillary was on twice and Bill was on 26 times. And you go, okay, great. Yep. They're guilty. And then you go, William Barr gave Epstein his first job. Trump appointed him. Acosta gave Epstein. Here's all of them hanging out. Prince Andrew, right. Ghislaine Maxwell, photos after photos after. Oh, that's just a conspiracy. Everybody takes pictures at parties. Like, okay. They sound just as crazy. And then the Clinton-y diehards, the still with her wingnuts, are like, they'll say, well, Bill's probably guilty. I'm like, so is she. Well. So
isn't that great to see QAnon and the Hillary wingnuts come together on something? They both believe that photos are just photos. They don't mean nothing, right?
Yeah, it's glad we should put them on their own island, and
I will say this: if there were like one mysterious photo of Hillary near Epstein or Trump near Epstein, whatever. Then I could agree. If that were it, I could agree. There are photos that are just photos. Like, I take photos with people after my shows. I don't ask, hey, are you a white supremacist taking a photo just to make me look bad? So, someone could easily get a photo of me smiling next to a white supremacist if they just came to a comedy show and told me I had a good set. That is all that would need to happen. Yes. However, I think Bill Clinton was on his plane 26 times, which that's the point you kind of cross over past a photo's just a photo area.
I think by the second trip, maybe.
Yeah. A plane, listen, a flight on someone's private jet that happens to have 13-year-old girls dressed in bikinis is just a flight on someone's jet that happens to have 13-year-old girls dressed in bikinis. You don't know. He didn't know what he was doing. He's like, sure, I'll get on this jet. Why not?
Yeah, we didn't know. We didn't know when we went to his weird creep island. We had no idea. We had no idea what was going on there when there was like a human sacrifice. You mean you watched, especially like if you were at his island or any of his compounds, his New Mexico compound and his island both have this weird circle of stone ritual thing. Like, it doesn't have like tennis courts and a beach volleyball, like rich people shit would have. It has like, I
love one day we'll find the head of the construction unit that came in, and we was like, yeah, so I want to take out the volleyball and put in a goat's head surrounded by stones. And we get rid of the what's the thing called with the pole with the volleyball tetherball?
Yeah,
I was about to say the volleyball tethered to it. That's how poorly my brain's working right now. Let's remove the tetherball spike, and we'll stick like a head of something on the spike instead.
Yeah, can we get rid of the sand volleyball court and just have more of side of a blood ritual? Can we get that a chalice full of blood that we can drink in this ritual thing? Like,
do you have, how you look at like different color swatches for like a carpet? Do you have one of those, but it's just different types of animal heads on spikes? Because I don't really know what would fit best with that brand of foliage that's there. So if you just have a booklet I could flip through.
Just, just FedEx over the animal head swatches so we can just see them and put them up next to the wall and figure out which is the best one for us. All right.
And stand there with friends and go, better like this or better like this? Better like this or better like this?
Which brings out the Luciferian stuff better? What do you think?
All right. As long as we're doing our Epstein riff, I'm going to give you another 5 minutes to get the people who only listen to this podcast. Let's say they're not watching all of your live streams, which they should. What has happened in the past week with Maxwell?
I don't know. Was there something in the news? I don't know. Did something?
Well, no, I just meant since the last time we taped, she was arrested by the FBI.
Yes.
I think the questions that are swirling are didn't the FBI claim that they've been watching her for a while, and also isn't she in like the same? Wasn't she brought to the same New York jail? Does anyone ask whether she also is going to be suicided in the next 10 minutes? Or?
Well, there's so many questions since the last time we recorded. So literally the next day, they arrested her, right? And since that arrest, we have seen, not that I can find online, there are 0 mugshots, there are 0 paparazzi photos, which you would think a high-profile person getting arrested for a high-profile crime, we would see photos, we would see her in an orange jumpsuit, paparazzi would be all. We have seen no photos, right? One person on Twitter verified, and they live tweeted this, and I put this on my channel. Calling the New York Department. First of all, let's backtrack. You're right. She was arrested in New Hampshire, and they transferred her to the same jail.
Right.
The same jail.
Doesn't that raise some alarm bells?
No, I don't think it does at all, Lee. I think it's going to take at least more than a year.
The same Mossad agent was waiting for her in the same cell. They hadn't even cleaned it up yet. It's still got the sheets tied together, and he's like, "Welcome. We're going to take much better care of you than the last guy."
Yeah, and there's the unplugged cameras just above. They haven't been able to figure those out.
And the security guard, the jail attendants are still asleep. They haven't woken up yet. They're still taking a cat nap.
It's like they're just taking a 12-month-old cat nap, periodically waking up to, buy stuff online. So that's just like, it really feels like, oh, did they really even catch her? Like we haven't seen anything. There was an article that came out that was like saying, Ghislaine Maxwell has she has a friend of hers, an alleged friend, they couldn't name an actual person, a friend of Ghislaine Maxwell. So it's just more of this vagueness. And she has thumb drives that could implicate the most powerful people, and so she's in the process of negotiating that, or they're trying to get those thumb drives.
So we're very busy smashing those as we speak.
Yeah, so we're putting all those near magnets right now while we get her paper T-shirt noose ready.
Right.
So it's like to me it just raises all of these questions of like, did they even catch her? Is Mossad going to kill her, or is she just like this was all this stage theatrics to get people to go, yay, we got her, when she's, her and Epstein are hanging out, on a beach somewhere, whatever, being guarded by Mossad. I mean, I firmly believe, based on Maria Farmer, she did a lengthy interview to Whitney Webb, and she said that...
Is that a victim?
Yeah, Maria Farmer is a victim. She's an Epstein victim, and she... said that Epstein was just a project manager, that Les Wexner is like the head of the North American traffic ring snake, is how she put it.
So where is he right now? Is he hiding out somewhere?
No, he's in Ohio, Lee. Just, weird that there's all this stuff coming out of Ohio.
Let's be honest, Ohio is kind of off the grid. There's not a lot going on there.
No, there's not. I mean, they haven't had running water.
Everybody in Ohio, I love you. I'm sure you get the YouTubes and the podcasts too.
Yes, we love doing tour dates there. And if you watch either one of our shows and you live in Ohio, you're well aware of what Ohio, right? So,
you know what you did. You know what goes on
what's
there.
happening right now. But yeah, I mean, it's so there. So this one guy called on Twitter, and he called and he put it on speakerphone, this automated to see if a prisoner is in the New York prison system. And they're like, yes, we have Ghislaine Maxwell here. What are the charges? No charges have been listed. What's the bond? No bond has been lifted. What's listed? What's her release date? No release date. So my guess is she's going to either get COVID or paper T-shirt herself. And
she already apparently has COVID.
Well, that was a fake story. I thought that was.
Really?
I thought that I retweeted that. Oh, they put and it was actually a parody site. Somebody pointed out to me, but
I feel like it even got covered somewhere mainstream. I think.
That's awesome.
Anyway,
but it's exactly what they would do. The parody site. It's like when you see something in The Onion and you go, "Wow, that's funny," but way too plausible, actually, in this crazy day and age. So
yeah, no, especially non-onion satire sites seem to not understand that just saying something that actually could just be true is not really a joke.
yeah,
It's just, I mean, it could be funny in certain ways, but every once in a while they'll be like, America paying the Taliban to keep fighting the Taliban, and I'm like, no, that's just a real story. You didn't change anything.
yeah, that's yeah, exactly. Like that's actually happening right now. We know
Right.
like they haven't done enough research to know that it's not a parody.
Right. They haven't dug down within the parody story to see whether it is happening. Yeah.
They were like, wouldn't it be funny if this happened? And it's like, I just do a cursory search. It is. It's going down. So yeah, I don't know. The Epstein, the Ghislaine Maxwell, I think she is either, this is all orchestrated theatrics. So, oh, we got her, and then she's going to die from COVID or slip on a bag of knives in prison or whatever.
The old bag of knives trick.
Just like, or if there is some sort of like tape release deal, here's my only, and I want to pose this to you. Sometimes I get the feeling that there are like dueling factions within like the ruling class deep state. And sometimes I feel like there's a battle, like some of this, like the battle over Trump is sort of like, well, he's costing this group of the ruling class money, but this group really likes him or whatever. And sort of like, maybe there's like well, we're evil ruling class monsters that profit from bombing people, but we don't sex traffic. So come on. Or they're just like, let's.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there's absolutely incredibly rich people who, don't give a fuck if Bill Clinton goes down and Prince Andrew goes down. Like, but I think that a lot of the people that are tangentially connected to it have a lot of power right now. So, that's the question is like, do they worry that the people she would reveal could actually do such dire harm to the American empire and the British empire and the Israeli empire to that they don't want those people to go down simply because of the harm it would do to the empire writ large, which seems to be what's going on so far. Like that's why Acosta gave him the deal, was basically because, it wasn't necessarily to protect specifically Bill Clinton. It was because, these things coming out would hurt the empire too much.
Yeah, and Acosta was told that that Epstein had ties to intelligence, and he literally was like a CIA asset. That's what they were told. That's what, I mean, literally Acosta said that in an interview. I mean, there's a quote of him saying that. So I wonder if that's part of, I mean, it could be the CIA and Mossad are battling, and they're like, I don't know, Mossad came in and killed Epstein, and the CIA is like, hey, wait a minute, we only get to kill our assets, not you. And and they're like, all right, we're gonna capture Ghislaine then, if you want to play this game. Like,
I'd say one of the things that people confuse when they start looking into these conspiracies and things is they think that the ruling elite all are of one mind.
Yeah.
And, are just that they really have that big meeting inside a dark temple and decide of, every decision and are in full agreement. But in fact, they're not. There are different factions of it. But the problem is the reason so much of it goes in one direction is because there are certain things they all agree on, such as getting profit above all else, and not allowing the American empire, if we're talking about the American ruling class, to lose grasp of global dominance. So many decisions are kind of easy amongst that group because they're all going in that one direction. But when it comes to smaller details, as like, what to do with Epstein or things like that, there's not agreement. There can be many different factions working in different ways.
And again, too, I mean, just I mean, we'll just make this conclusion or assumption, if you will, that they are just greedy people that want more power. So like, oh, that other powerful faction, we need to get a little, like, there's like, we got to fight with them to get a little more power. And like, when you have like, you know, the Rothschilds, they might be like, well, we like to profit this way from sex trafficking, and you know, Mossad is profiting a different way from sex trafficking. And wait a minute.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is we like for our sex trafficking to be quiet, and you have put it front and center.
Yeah.
So we're going to cut you loose and keep ours on the down low. And you know, that's why Trump is such a problem for our you know, America Inc., is that he is part of the ruling class in that he is rich. And, you know, even if he's in debt, he can get loans of hundreds of millions of dollars. Right. So he is rich. He is powerful in that way. He does have big connections, you know, even before presidency in New York real estate and things like that. So in that way, he was part of the ruling class, but he was not part of the kind of really dominant head of empires, and so they fucking kind of hate him.
Right.
He is like this ugly stepchild who is not intelligent in a traditional sense, and doesn't know really or seem to care how to cover up the gross deeds of the American empire, and so he's just spraying it all out there. And they, you know, the true kind of ruling elite, it can't stand that. It's risking everything that they've built.
Yeah, it feels like rival mafia families or gangs or something like that. Like, we were all making good money, and then you idiots had to go you know, and now the cops and the media is covering us, and so you got to go. Or some mob guy like,
Trump feels like Fredo or something, like some like like singular character who was like, I know how to do it better, and I'm going to take over more things, and then just shits the whole business. And they're like, you're ruining everything, you asshole.
I'm smart. I can do things. I'm not dumb like people say. I'm your kid brother, Mikey, and I was passed over. It's what Pop wanted. It's not what I wanted. Like, that's what it feels like. And now they're like, okay, let's take him out fishing on Lake Tahoe.
Yeah. So they've been inviting Trump out fishing for fucking 4 years now, and he will not go. He keeps saying the sun is too hot, or he doesn't like fishing because you have to think to yourself, and he's not good at that. And so they can't get him out on the boat.
Oh God, yeah. Somebody put in the chat, Trump is new money. Like,
yeah,
that might be it too. Like, oh, he made his money new. He hasn't had like 1,000 years of, you know.
Well, it's new money, and it's also that he never really, like, Trump has never succeeded at anything. He's failed upwards his whole life. I mean, his business ventures have basically all gone under. The only real thing he succeeded at was The Apprentice, because people were like, I can't turn the channel at this train wreck.
Right.
But so even his quote unquote new money was like, he was in endless lawsuits, thousands of lawsuits. I mean, it wasn't even like stable money. He had to get massive loans from Deutsche Bank and everything. So it wasn't even like this guy's just sitting on a money empire. You know, he was a fucking train wreck, and they couldn't stop him from becoming president. They did everything they could.
Right. Yeah. All right. That's interesting. So here's my story that I want to talk about on the good government secrets, because it sort of ties into everything we're talking about, which is MK Ultra, our favorite. and for those of you listening who don't know, I'm just going to give you a little, and I've just went online, just found a very simple thing. It was a top secret CIA project in which the agency conducted hundreds of clandestine experiments, sometimes on unwitting U.S. citizens, to assess the potential use of LSD and other drugs for mind control, information gathering, and psychological torture. Though the project lasted from 1953 to about 73, isn't it fun when they say a program got shut down when we know it didn't? Isn't that fun?
You know, like Operation Mockingbird, where they infiltrate the media. They ended that. That's over now.
It's all done. That's that. And
all the you know, you can't picture the guy turning out the lights in the room, like click, It's all done. Finished up infiltrating the media here at the CIA. We're going to move on now.
Yeah, the mob's out of Vegas. They got the mob out of Vegas. The mob is not in Vegas at all. Basically what MK Ultra was to our listeners is Alan Dulles, director of the CIA, approved MK Ultra in 1953, and the project was aimed to develop techniques that could be used against Soviet bloc enemies to control human behavior with drugs and other psychological manipulators. Yeah, it was totally just used against our enemies. We didn't ever employ it against our own people. The CIA is not allowed to operate on American soil.
By the way, one of our, maybe the most celebrated MK Ultra participant, the Unabomber. Right? He was going to Harvard, and they used him in a study, and they fucking broke him, man, and that spawned, that created the PTSD and the seed that made him despise academics. Unabomber had a lot of other interesting points about technology and things, but the reason he sent bombs to academics, which not a lot of people can get behind that, is because he was used in this experiment. I believe it was Harvard, used in this experiment, and therefore felt like these academic professors had abused him.
Yeah. And the question remains, like, was he like this lost cause that went off the reservation, or did they go, hey, time to activate Unabomber? That's the question you got to ask, because MK Ultra obviously it's got to still be in form, in use in some way or capacity today. Like, there's no way all this crazy shit happening around the planet, you can't, I just have a hard time going, oh, it's just the loose cannon, or just like they're activating all these like Jason Bourne style, like their phone rings and they just say Gypsy, Firefly, 1940, and then the guy gets activated and just goes nuts.
And then he silently hangs up the phone and his eyes have changed.
Yeah.
And then he turns and walks away.
Yes. And then he just puts on red underwear and pulls out this duffel bag that was hidden in a safe. That's what I feel like it is to me, because again, back to what it said, the program involved more than 150 human experiments involving psychedelic drugs, paralytics, and electroshock therapy. Sometimes the test subjects knew they were participating in the study, but other times they had no idea. They conducted them at universities, if you said, hospitals and prisons in the United States and Canada. Most of them took place between 53 and 64, but it's not clear how many people were involved in the tests. The agency kept notoriously poor records. Oh, that's what it was. Clerical error. That's what it just like they just couldn't write the stuff down correctly at the CIA. Oh, those guys, they got a bad filing system. That's what we're supposed to believe.
Dude, I did a segment. It's hard to remember it, but it was on the biggest like mistakes of the FBI and the CIA. And one of them was that they lost Oswald's rifle, they claim. They just can't find it. Like it's shit like that where you're like, what in the fuck?
Yeah,
you can't come up with something better, some better excuse.
But like they're still doing it. I mean, if you look at, I mean, again, like the Epstein thing, the Ghislaine Maxwell, like, we just lost. He hung himself and the cameras were bad and then 2 guards fell asleep. Okay, thanks. Like, we're all just supposed to buy that. And that's why #Epstein didn't kill himself. No. The funny thing is now with the internet, nobody's buying this crap. Like,
I know.
All supposed to, they lost his rifle. Like,
and you know what it really does is it completely undermines any remaining belief people had in the mainstream media when they see a report about, Epstein dying and they're like, apparently he committed suicide. It's just what a story. And everyone at home is like throwing things at their TV like it's the final minute of the Super Bowl. And they're like, no, what are you fucking Jesus?
Yeah.
And the cat gets hurled across the room.
I know. They just blatantly say this stuff, and they're going to do it. And we're going to get some crazy thing with Maxwell, whatever it is. She died, or
well, I was thinking it might be some kind of deal where she turns on a few people that they believe are the ones they can, easily, the scapegoats they can easily prosecute, and she keeps quiet on pivotal people like Prince Andrew or whoever else, and then she only gets, fucking 3 years for administrative malfeasance or something.
I just love those concocted terms like aggressive emailing or something like. So, but that's like, and
she all she did was type it incorrect. She pushed the wrong button on an email. The problem was the email was inside of a girl who did not want to be there.
Oh, got it. I mean, even in the charges,
yeah, it's an accident.
And Whitney Webb pointed this out when I brought her on last week. When the charges first happened, it said she's involved in trafficking, but they didn't actually charge her with sexual assault of a minor, which is what several of Epstein's victims have said she did. She participated in the raping and trafficking. They're just like, she enabled, like they keep talking around it. So it's like, again, they're like you say, they're setting up all of these lesser charges because they're going to they're sitting there right now going, well, Dershowitz is going to go down, but not Trump, Clinton, or Prince Andrew. Like, they're just like,
right.
Like it's going to be a bunch of mid-level guys like that are going to, they're done. But nobody else. But going back to MK Ultra, because I think this all ties in. So they included experience with MDMA, ecstasy, mescaline, heroin, barbiturates, methamphetamines, and psilocybin or magic mushrooms. And they had Operation Midnight Climax, which I'm not making this name.
Which was also the name of Epstein's Island.
And Chris D'Elia's last album. So
did you know that guy? I didn't know him.
I did not know him. I did not know D'Elia at all. I saw him do stand-up I was at the Improv, the Hollywood Improv, 6-7 years ago, right when he was sort of kind of blowing up, and I was on the same show with him, and I watched his set and I went, huh. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that you and I are both bitter at Hollywood. And that actually that sums up my response to about 80% of every comedian I ever saw get like a fucking sitcom or some massive deal or something, and then you go watch them do stand up and you're like, interesting. I wonder how that happened.
Big wacky voices. Okay. But as we uncover all this stuff, you got to wonder. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But Operation Midnight Climax, the CIA hired prostitutes to lure unsuspecting men to CIA safe houses where drug experiments took place. The CIA dosed the men with LSD, and then, while at times drinking cocktails behind a two-way mirror, watched the drug's effects and the men's behavior. Recording devices were installed in the prostitute's room disguised as electrical outlets. Most of the Operation Midnight experiments took place in San Francisco, Marin County, and New York City. The program had little oversight, and the CIA agents involved admitted that a freewheeling party-like atmosphere. And this is one of the quotes.
Dude, can you imagine being in the CIA in the 50s and 60s? Oh, God, you can do whatever the fuck you want. No one even asked.
I know.
I mean, granted, they're running wild now too, but back then,
like, somebody came in and pitched to go, we need to do the drug sex thing. Oh, all right.
Okay, yeah,
sure.
You know what? You should probably test out the sex thing for at least 2-3 months. See if it's working right.
See if it's working. But this is what this guy said. An agent named George White wrote to Gottlieb in 1971. Of course, I was a very minor missionary, actually a heretic, but I toiled wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, and cheat, steal, deceive, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest? That's not terrifying at all. That's what our government did.
I will say this. I appreciate the work ethic of the CIA back in those years, because in order to spy on someone having sex, they had to rent out the hotel room, put like little bugs inside the lamps and things, put in a one-sided mirror or two-sided mirror, whatever it's called, and then sit on the other side and literally be there and watch. Whereas now it's 3 keystrokes and they watch you have sex.
Right.
That is it.
On your
phone. They type in one password and they know your entire sex history.
Yeah. Yeah. Really hats off to the work ethic of the CIA back in the day. They really did.
Yeah.
They really did.
They put in the time. They put in the effort.
So,
by the way, speaking of this, did you ever watch Wormwood on Netflix?
No.
Oh my God, it's right up your alley. Wormwood is an amazing. They do both. It's a documentary that has scripted moments in it, so you go back and forth between the fictionalized version and the documentary aspect. And it's about a scientist that was killed. He was basically taken out by I believe, CIA. He was an American scientist, but he was a scientist working for the CIA, but he was working on germ warfare. And he ultimately, and they fucking did MK Ultra on him. They brought a bunch of them up to like a cabin, slipped LSD in their drinks, and wanted to see what would happen to them. And the LSD created an awakening in him. He started to lose it. He couldn't get behind the germ warfare shit anymore. And so he said, "Listen, I just want out. I'm never going to talk about this stuff. I just want out of the CIA." And they kept trying to talk him back in. And then he falls from a 13-story window in a hotel in New York.
So this is Frank Olson, I believe.
Frank Olson.
Yes, because this is in this article, who's a scientist that worked for the CIA. And at a 53 CIA retreat, he drank a cocktail that had spiked with LSD. A few days later, he threw himself out of New York hotel window and alleged suicide. Yeah, that's... And anyway, and ultimately the government actually apologized, which they would never say that they killed him, but they kind of left it as maybe we gave him LSD and he jumped out the window because of the LSD we gave him. Yeah. But they literally apologized, which I feel like is as close to a guilty verdict as you're going to get for the government assassinating a fucking scientist. Yeah, and according to this, the family also got $750,000 settlement. They received an apology from Gerald Ford and then CIA Director William Colby. Oh wow! And Ken Kesey, author of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, volunteered for MK Ultra. So this is like, there was a church committee, President Ford, while Chevy Chase was busy making him seem like a bumbling guy, he was doing all this fun stuff, with the, oh man, the church committee the church committee actually investigated, in the wake of the Watergate scandal, President Ford set up a United States Commission and CIA activities within the United States, investigate the illegal CIA activities. And the commission was led by Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, which is just like,
right.
Oh, I love, that's what you do, Lee, is like they had, remember when they asked John Gotti to do his own RICO Act investigation? Remember when they did that? That was fitting, right? That made sense.
Yep. And Trump was going to get back to us on a review of his taxes, I think, any day now, wasn't that? He's going to let us know what he found.
Absolutely. We want thicker up people. So
one more note on LSD. There are some theories that JFK was doing LSD, which is what caused him to begin to have his awakening, where he started talking about peace and peace with the Soviet Union. And just a few months before his assassination, gave a much heralded speech, although it was more heralded outside of America. In America, it was largely, intentionally ignored, but a speech at, I believe, American University, where he basically just laid out how great the Soviet Union is and how we need to be their allies and friends, and how they helped us win World War II and all these things. And within a few months, he was he jumped out of a 13-floor window. He jumped into a bullet that seemed to be coming in his direction.
The bullet that made right turns. That bullet. It's called a whoop-de-woo, whoop-de-doo bullet that swings around, does a right turn. But
It's there's a great book called Mary's Mosaic. I had the author of it on, and Mary Meyer was the mistress of Kennedy, well-known mistress. I mean, it wasn't even much of a secret, and she was assassinated it was about a year after Kennedy was killed. She was shot in the back of the head, like basically executed broad daylight here in Washington, D.C. on the canal path, or the towpath, canal towpath, and it was because she was raising a large stink, and she was a higher up in American society. Her father had been a governor and things like that, and she was raising a stink about how it was not Oswald that had killed Kennedy, and she just and they've always claimed that just some random guy had shown up on the towpath, grabbed her, and tried to rape her for 12 seconds and then just immediately killed her.
Wow.
Which happens all the time.
All the time. So totally, especially when you bring up the Lee Harvey Oswald and the grassy knoll, and Jack Ruby was just a concerned citizen. He was mad. That's why Jack Ruby did that. He didn't broker a deal.
You know what? He was just really upset.
Yeah, he was. It was a lot of mob-tied club owners were just like, how dare you? Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. All right. What other government secrets do you have, Lee Camp?
All right. Shall we move into, I'll give you a choice. Either how, well, we should do both of these, but how the Russian bounty story continues to collapse, which is what I said a week ago. And here we are. I mean, it's just hilarious. Within days of, everyone running around with their hair on fire, Rachel Maddow devoted, I think, 13 hours of her 1-hour show to covering the Russian bounty story and about how Russia was paying bounties to the Taliban to kill American soldiers, except that the Taliban is always trying to kill American soldiers. That's what they do. And also the fact that we pay the Taliban. And there's been multiple articles on Redacted tonight. I covered some of these articles, but the Nation did one in 2009 about how we fund the Taliban. There was recently a lawsuit, 400 people, I believe the families of soldiers, maybe dead soldiers, sued U.S. military contractors who were paying the Taliban as well, because they said they sued them for paying the Taliban because you're helping, you basically helped kill our soldier sons and daughters and things. And anyway, the New York Times in page A19 on a Friday, which if you want to know what the New York Times does not want you to see, it's on A19 on a Friday. All right. They really wanted you to take a good long look at that story. And they put it off as the Trump administration, blah, blah, blah. But within the article, if you actually look at it and actually think about it like an adult human, they're saying that there's no evidence of anything. These are anonymous sources. The intel was even by some of our intel agencies, I believe the NSA, said they had low confidence in the. I mean, if this was said by an Afghan Taliban member at all, it was said while their balls were hooked up to an electric car battery, to a car battery. And they were like, yeah, the Russians are paying us please just stop pushing that button. I mean, that is the only evidence they have of anything. And anyway, it's all just collapsing. And I think that's why most media outlets have basically stopped talking about it. But I did see a moment on MSNBC today where they were like, look, this story is not going away, and Russia paid the Taliban. And I'm like, no, it is mostly going away because it was complete horseshit.
Well, I saw Aaron Matei tweet this, he saw some other mainstream person say, oh, Russia paid the Taliban. So it's almost like they did their job. They got it just enough out there that the majority of the people who are not paying that much attention, or just the neoliberals who hate Trump no matter what and will listen to anything that says Trump is bad. Just whatever, if all Fox News has to say is, Bernie's a socialist or AO's, hey, socialist, they're going to be the next Stalin or whatever. Then they do the same thing. So enough people believe,
Yes, I should actually correct myself. When I said this story is going away, I meant that a lot of outlets have stopped covering it because they're quietly realizing how flimsy it is. But in terms of whether it did its job, you're absolutely right. It did what they wanted, what they had hoped it would do. And that's a few things. One, it's always good to reheat up the Cold War when you're afraid the Cold War is getting a little too cold. You just turn on the burner and you get it going, get it nice and warm again. And there was a reason that needed to happen. That needed to happen because Trump, who is not Mr. Peacenik, all right? So this is a guy who's allowed the military to drop more bombs than even Obama. But he is in certain areas of the world going against the military-industrial complex, and he wanted to bring 10,000 of our 35,000 troops home from Germany, which is considered kind of, close to Russia, or one of our front lines against Russia. And so they needed to heat up the Cold War with Russia so that those troops would not be brought home from Germany. Also, there's been this quasi push for a peace plan in Afghanistan with the Taliban and bringing troops home from there, and this ended all of that as well. So this succeeded with what the deep state, the military-industrial complex wanted, which is no troops are coming home from fucking anywhere. And you get the kind of Trump's being too easy on Russia thing. When in fact, if you actually look at what he's done to Russia, like the diplomats that have been expelled and the sanctions and shit, he's been worse to Russia, far worse than Obama has, far worse than like Bush was. So the idea that, Trump is Mr. Nice Guy to Russia doesn't even hold up. But you're right. It achieved what it wanted. And there was actually, this was hilarious. The Reuters put out an article about how a new Reuters poll shows that 80% of Americans believe Russia paid the Taliban to kill American soldiers. So basically, this is an article of Reuters and the other mainstream media saying, here's a poll showing that our fake story worked.
Yeah.
Look at how well it worked.
Our fake story really hit the charts today, ladies and gentlemen. Had good movement on the fake story today. There's the fake story meter. It really
and still at number one for the fourth week in a row. It is Russia paid the Taliban.
We should do that. Just the propaganda, the Billboard propaganda top 20, ladies and gentlemen. How are we going to pay for it? Dropped down a few slots after the CARES Act, but Russia paid the Taliban, screaming up to number one.
And Russia paid the Taliban. It dropped down to number 5, but it surges back up to number 1 with, some new false info that has just dropped.
Oh, thanks to the American people for only just reading sound bites and memes to get their news. Keep this one skyrocketing into the slots.
I mean, really, I think that why 80% of America believes that is because you give them reports where they're like, I want to believe that. So, okay.
Well, that's it. I want to believe it. I want to believe it. It makes me feel good. Trump and Russia are their buddies. And there we go. And it's just like, so.
Well, and anyone who wants to, I mean, the idea that, this makes what's going on in Afghanistan bad because Russia is paying the Taliban to kill Americans. It's like, no, everything that's gone on in Afghanistan for 20 years has been bad, okay? The Washington Post actually did a massive story that got very little coverage a year ago, the Afghanistan papers, that showed that multiple administrations, Bush, Obama, Trump, have all been lying out their asses about what's going on in Afghanistan. There's been no progress. There's no hope of quote unquote winning. The troops over there know, most of them know, there's no hope of quote unquote winning because there is no goal to win. It's just like go village to village and maybe kill a few people. There's like, I mean, Mike Preisner, who served in Iraq and works with the Empire Files, he said that a lot of troops are, that they'll say they're going out on their mission and then they just hide in the bushes for 3 days and then come back and say they did their mission because they realize it's A, hopeless, and B, pointless. It's both hopeless and pointless.
Wow.
And so they're looking after their own asses because they realize how hopeless this thing is and how ridiculous it is. And if anybody wants the full history of our intentional catastrophe in Afghanistan, watch the Empire Files. They just put out a new episode on the Afghanistan war. But
Yeah, it's just a standard like great distraction. We're all arguing over did Russia do this or this. We're not going, why are we still in Afghanistan? No one is saying that. No one is asking that question, that's what we should be saying. I don't even give it. Look, if Russia did pay him, who gives a shit? We're out of there. The whole goal, okay, Taliban's bad. Great. We got the Taliban out of power. We should be talking about, wow, look how well we've rebuilt Afghanistan like we did Europe and Japan. Oh, wow. After World War II. That's what it should. Because
we don't want it rebuilt. Right. Rebuilt means power.
Yeah.
Rebuilt means that someone could come into power there that is not our puppet. And all of a sudden you have a powerful country that is not our puppet. So we're much better off with just a collapsed country where we can exploit the minerals, exploit the opium, and maybe one day put in pipelines and not worry that country will ever side with Iran and actually stand up to American empire.
Yeah. God forbid we all those trillions of dollars we spent in Afghanistan. God forbid we spend it on roads and hospitals and schools and because we can't do that. We don't even spend that on our own country. So why would we spend it on them when, we're busy tear gassing and beating up our own citizens and killing them? We need to do that around the world. Yay.
Well, you could talk maybe the American government into building hospitals in Afghanistan because they've run out of targets. So maybe they could build some hospitals.
Yes.
To blow up.
Yes.
Drones are getting bored. Okay. The drones they're really getting bored out there.
They can't hit because we've blown up everything. What are they supposed to do? That's not fair. And the drone guys need jobs. Like this is insane. Like we end the war. Like Wolf Blitzer said several years ago, if we cut down all the military, where are all these war jobs going to go? Oh, God forbid they do things that actually better society. We couldn't have that. It's just like
if we stop all the serial murdering, where's the serial murderers going to go?
Yeah, we're going to put those guys out of work. Like, how's Ted Bundy going to pay his bills?
That's what I've always said about all these trials against rapists. If they succeed, what are the rapists going to do with their time? Exactly. They need a hobby. I mean, fuck you, assholes! Fucking,
God, they're fucking.
Can't stand up for ending war because of the jobs it creates.
The logic is insane. It is insane, and they say it with a straight face, and then we're called the crazy problems. Like, it's madness. We got
to wrap. Yeah, we got to wrap up, I guess. But I'll have to save for next week. I want to talk about oil pipelines and oil companies. They're all collapsing. It's beautiful to see.
I got a quick quiz. You got a couple minutes for just a quick,
Yeah, man.
All right.
Let's do it.
So this here on Government Secrets is what do you think was worse? Which TV show was worse in terms of the messaging it got out to people? The West Wing or Hogan's Heroes?
Or Cheers.
That's or Cheers. So we're supporting alcoholism, or we think the Nazis are just bumbling, winks, boink, or a decade, 8 years of fueling neoliberal bullshit on West Wing.
I watched West Wing, and I like some of it because of the writing, just because Aaron Sorkin's I enjoy his writing. But I did find it hilarious how the president just really wants to help everybody. That's his main goal in life. He's just really trying to help everybody. And he just has these really it's impossible decisions to make. 5 are going to die on that side and 7 are going to die on that side. And how do you decide? And especially in foreign policy, everything that ever happens in foreign policy on that show is done to America. America is hit with a terrorist bomb. America is, we were attacked or something's happening in Israel. It is never once in the entirety of that show did America just do something.
I know. We're always just the innocent guy. I think people keep messing with us. It's just,
we're just trying to get a leg up here, man.
We sound like that show. And again, I agree. I watched when it first came out, I watched it every week. And a year ago, I kind of binged it on Netflix, and I was like, wow. And again, there was some great writing from Aaron Sorkin.
And there's some, and I actually like his humor. His humor writing is really funny because you're not watching it for comedy. So when there's like a comedic moment, it's usually really good.
And then, there was cool, interesting, the sort of behind the scenes horse trading on how politics gets done. That was interesting. But man, after that series after 9/11, there's all these like pro CIA episodes where they're like, hey, we need this.
And actually it makes complete sense. But I heard Aaron Sorkin's interview on Mark Maron. So it was like an hour of him chatting with Aaron Sorkin. And he's exactly what you think he'd be. He is a hyper intelligent, like Hillary Clinton supporter.
Of course.
And who thinks that anyone who did not support Hillary Clinton is out of their goddamn mind, and they, just love Donald Trump, and it's just pathetic. And you're like, wow, it's interesting to hear someone so intelligently, like, basically have no idea what's going on in the world.
None, no clue.
He's believed everything Wolf Blitzer has ever said he has believed.
Well, yeah, he lives in a mansion in Hollywood. He hangs out with his Hollywood neoliberal friends. He's never been set foot in any of the states in the middle of the country the way we have as comedians. He's never talked to a working class really talked to them. He hasn't seen how NAFTA decimated communities, and that's why, like West Virginia, which voted for Bernie in 2016 and then voted for Trump in the general, because they're like, we didn't forget NAFTA. And then, just brilliantly intelligent, isolated neoliberal Hollywood person that just fuels all of you Hollywood liberals are out of touch, because again, America in that series, they would always act like America always acted like, like stand-up comics, like who are always in some awful relationship and they act like it's not their fault. Like, I dated another stripper with a coke problem and she went nuts. I don't know what happened. Like, oh, okay.
Hey, strippers are the best. I don't like that comment, Graham.
Hey,
that joke would have been better if it had been like, I dated another politician, and for some odd reason, she was a fucking horror show.
Yes, I dated. I dated another corporate media journalist, and she just sold me down the river for a story. I can't believe this. Like,
right.
She left me for a Boeing rep. Like,
yeah.
So, all right. So you're saying West Wing? Boy, it's tough for me. I might go Hogan's Heroes, but just because I remember watching that as a kid and I just thought, it was hilarious. And I loved Hogan was always getting the better of bumbling Schultz. And then I got older and went, holy shit. When I learned about what happened in the Holocaust, I was like, Hogan matching wits with those bubbling genocidal maniacs. Another wacky episode of Hogan's Heroes.
Dude, I got to run, but we need to have like a 30-minute conversation on the next episode just about all of the Hollywood propaganda that is quietly put into every movie and every TV show.
Let's do that.
It's truly incredible.
All right. Well, sign us off, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us. This is the second episode of Government Secrets. We hope you'll join us a lot every week. It's free. Check it out. And please tell friends about it. Also, my TV show is called Redacted Tonight. That's at youtube.com/redacted tonight. And my website's leecamp.com. And Graham, what are all your sites?
If you go to grahamelwood.com, you can follow my show Political Vigilante, which just crossed 70,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're also, so that's youtube.com/grahamelwood. And then I'm also on Rockfin, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. Check that out. I have my Patreon. I have a PayPal button, a P.O. box, a million ways to support what I do. So just go to grahamelwood.com. And this show was recorded Friday, July 10th. So if anything drastically changes tomorrow, this is like...
oh my God, this episode is going to come out with Graham quietly speaking to the mic. Hey, everybody, we filmed this episode just before Lee Camp was arrested in a sting operation. But the animals there were arrested. They are traumatized, but they're going to be okay.
At the time of this recording, we did not know Lee Camp had been paying the Taliban to...
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye, Lee.
Bye.